On December 1st, 1969, Victor Charles was speaking in the town hall to the Woman's City Club. With his one-man show, and 8 days later, he was doing the same by speaking at the Chamlin College in their Ara Allen Chapel. In closing out the decade of the 1960s, he said, "I attribute my start in acting to my grandmother, who constantly reminded me as a child to stand straight and to speak distinctly. At the age of 19, I was ready to conquer Hollywood, but I was a villain and they weren't selling that year. So I returned to San Diego to teach English for 1 year before trying Hollywood again." It was clear to see that Victor Charles was struggling at the end of 1969 while being in a drought of lack of quality roles in television and motion pictures. It was a smart move to reinvent his image throughout the states of America by intimately speaking to students in colleges and in women ladies' clubs. He started turning back to the theater stage, where he first was recognized as a fine Shakespearean actor in 1959 at the Old Globe Theater. He was being drawn outside the borders of America to perform in European motion pictures because he wasn't being offered quality roles in Hollywood anymore. He was now 30 years old at the end of 1969, and he was a seasoned television and motion picture star. He mostly was known as the actor in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, who received an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. He was known as the actor who performed with Bette Davis, Joan Crawford, Frank Sinatra, and Dean Martin. To the younger generation in the mid-1960s, Victor Charles would be remembered by playing in the role of King Tut in the Batman series on television between the years of 1966 and 1968. My father Sonny and I drove up to Malibu in 1969 to the new house that Victor Charles and my grandma Mert were living in. When we arrived, Victor Charles took us outside, showing the view of the Pacific Ocean, and then he pointed to his next-door neighbor's house owned by actor Raymond Burr, who played in the role in the television program Perry Mason. Victor Charles's single-story house on the cliff of Malibu was much bigger than the Monkey House in Hollywood, and we soon were surprised to see my step-grandfather Victor Francis Buono there to help move Victor Charles's belongings from Hollywood to Malibu. Apparently, after nearly 10 years of imprisonment, he finally was released, and he was now a free man. I don't recall if my father was aware that we would be seeing Victor Francis that day, or how he felt after seeing him. That was one of the family characteristics by keeping emotions secretly quiet and buried. I believe my father learned that trait when growing up, to keep his mouth shut and never squill his emotions to any others. Surprisingly, I was told to ride along with my step-grandfather Victor Francis back to the Monkey House in Hollywood to pick up a few of the last items left behind. There we were, sitting and driving in the car to Hollywood. And I can't recall having a long conversation at any time while driving there and back to Malibu. We were together for about 3 hours, and the one thing I remember most was silence. I didn't know anything about why he was sent to prison or anything about the robbery and murder of mafia boss Tony Mirabile. I didn't know anything, but only that he went to prison, and naturally, I would never ask him, "Oh, what was it like in prison, Grandpa?" I certainly wouldn't, and I didn't. And he also didn't know anything about me. He must have been terribly uncomfortable, and he didn't ask me, "What have you been doing with your life, Wayne?" I wish we did have a conversation, but looking back, I understand why we didn't. I think we both wanted to, but we didn't know how to melt the ice. Too many years had passed by, and frankly, we were just two strangers driving in a car to Hollywood and back to Malibu. Sadly, I never had another opportunity to see him or get to know him, and that is a damn pity for both of us, because I wish I had known him better after his release from prison. But I will always remember him taking me by my hand to Belmont Park in South Mission Beach as a young lad in the happier days of his life, where the wooden roller coaster was king of the park, and playing at a booth where we tossed dimes in jars and eating cotton candy with my step-grandfather, Victor Francis. My great-grandmother, Myrtle Bell Keller Bolkovich, who I called Granny Grunts, was born on April 18, 1886, in Essex, Ontario, Canada, and she had just died. She was an important member of the Buono family, and especially for Victor Charles, by teaching him how to become an actor. Everyone loved her, and when she passed away at 82 years old on December 15, 1969, we all knew we had been blessed by her inspirations, talents, and her wonderful common sense and wisdom. I spent a night with her in bed as a young lad, and she gave me a jackknife for a gift. I sat in her bed in the morning watching television and whittling on my thumb with my jackknife. And when she saw my bloody thumb, she didn't scold me, but she lovingly took the jackknife from my hand, folded it, and put it in my pocket, and kissed my forehead. I will never forget my Granny Grunt's kindness.